Hello, explorers, and welcome to Reach the World's Explorer program. For more than 25 years, Reach the World has inspired youth to become curious, confident, and compassionate global citizens through virtual exchange. My name is Tim, and I want you to reflect on the last 47 days of your life. Maybe you celebrated a holiday with your family, or started a new semester at school, or even tackled a new project in your life. Throughout that entire time, more than a month and a half, the incredible women we're about to talk to have been living on a rowboat the size of a car, moving one oar stroke at a time across 3,000 miles of open Atlantic Ocean, from just off the coast of Western Africa to the Caribbean island of Antigua. So many of you have been following this journey closely, cheering them on from afar, and today we're traveling live to the finish line of the world's toughest row in Antigua to hear all about the crossing from the HMS Oardacious Valkyries themselves. I hope you've got your questions ready. I know we have some students backstage who are very eager to get their questions answered. If you're not already caught up on the Valkyries dispatches from the ocean, don't miss the updates they've been sharing with K-12 schools on their virtual exchange homepage. I've added the link in the chat, and you can see it at the bottom of your screen now. We have several classes joining us live today, including students from Pennsylvania and Missouri for sure, and many more. Welcome to you all. If you're joining us via YouTube, please feel free to drop your questions and comments for the Valkyries in the chat at any time, and we'll fold them into today's conversation. Okay, enough housekeeping. Let's get to the main event. I would like you to travel with me to the sunny Caribbean island of Antigua and join me in welcoming the Valkyries. And they are on a couple windows, so it's going to take me a minute to add them, but they're all here. I see their smiling faces waiting backstage. Hello, everyone.
Hi, how's it going?
Welcome back and congratulations on finishing the world's toughest row.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It means a lot.
It is fabulous to see you all, and I'm so excited to chat with you today. We have a bunch of students who are very eager to ask you some questions they have about this amazing experience you've just completed. Before we get started with student questions, though, I just want to check in with you. I saw some photos of the finish line, and we definitely talked to you before you set out on this adventure, like I said, more than a month and a half ago. Can we just get like a general, what was it like? What's happened to you in the last month and a half?
Oh, goodness me. We've had pretty much, I would say, all 4 seasons, bar snow, really, on the way across. We hit some big weather systems, and with big weather systems comes big weather. So lots of rain, lots of wind, big seas. And then we've also had absolutely no wind whatsoever. And it's been pretty much flat, calm and glassy like sea. And both of those tested us in different ways. And it has genuinely been an incredible journey. Really, really tough at times, and sometimes also really enjoyable.
Fabulous, I can imagine. And I know you have a lot of stories you can tell, but I really want to let the students who've been following you sort of drive the conversation today so we can talk about the things they want to hear about from your journey. So if our students are ready, I think maybe we can just share a couple pictures of the finish line. I saw these the other day, and just the emotion in these photos are incredible. Can one of you just tell me sort of what you were feeling in this photo? What are we looking at here?
So we were feeling so overwhelmed by what we had achieved and very excited to be in sight of dry land. At this point, we were just minutes away from being reunited with our family and friends, which was so important to us. You know, prior to the crossing, when we spoke to you before, we said our family and friends are so important in helping us along the way. During the crossing, we thought about them all the time. We spoke to them when we could, although, of course, communications are really difficult. And then this is the point that we saw our family and friends for the first time. So it meant so much to us. Anybody who's been away, maybe to school or, you know, away from loved ones, when you see them, you remember what that feeling is like. And that's what we were feeling.
Fabulous. I'm just sort of scrolling through some of these photos of what it looked like when you arrived in Antigua. And at this point, I imagine you're exhausted and you are happy, and the range of emotions is just difficult to describe. All right, so we've seen a couple of the images of what it looks like. I want to turn things over to our friends at Green Street Friends School and get them on camera here. And I'm going to see if I can make them a little bit bigger. Let's see what we can do. All right. There we go. Hello, Green Street Friends. How are you?
Hi. Now they can hear you. Okay.
It is fantastic to see you. I know you have questions for the Valkyries, so why don't you dive right in? Go ahead.
What other types of fish did you see except for flying fish?
So I'll take that one if you don't mind. So hi, so good to see you all. Thank you very, very much for firstly tracking our progress, but also being here today to chat to us. We feel really honoured to have you across the other side of the pond. Well, actually, you're a lot closer to us now than we were in the UK. But to answer your question, so we saw quite a few sort of like fairly large fish. We saw some dolphins. We had a little pilot fish tracking us for a while. So we called him Ziggy, and he sort of stays on the bottom side of our boat and hitches a ride, basically. So we counted him as one part of the team for quite a while. And I think he was with us for a couple of weeks. And we saw, we saw a whale. Thankfully, we didn't see any marlins, which are the ones with the really big beak that sometimes penetrate through the hull and cause a hole. So thankfully, we didn't see any of those. So lots of nice fish. We saw a shark as well at one point. Thankfully, didn't come too close to us. But yeah, lots of really interesting, colourful tropical fish.
Thank you.
Excellent. Great question. Let's take one more question from Green Street, and then we'll go over to City Garden, and we'll sort of switch back and forth.
Hi, my name is Linda, and I want to ask you, how was your reaction when you found out that you was in 19th place?
It's a good question. Maybe it didn't make it through the wave, but this is a race, and I think the question is like how aware of you what place you were in over the course of the race, or didn't that matter very much?
Oh, I think it was such a difficult crossing, or it's a difficult race to really get involved with where you are in the race, because when you were, did you see the tracks of all the different boats and how it comes down and round and everybody chooses different routes, and you can see that we changed places quite a bit, didn't we? We at some points were in the top 10 and then we dropped down, and there were some boats that went really south. So it was difficult to really get involved with the specific place for a long time, because we knew that it was gonna change right until the end. And I think that considering the conditions and what we had to deal with, we're quite content with 19th. And we're just I think we're more pleased to have got through to the end than anything else.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
Great question.
Thanks, Linda.
Hang tight, Green Street. Let's go. Let's bring City Garden on. Hello, City Garden.
Say hi.
All right. Who wants to be our first question asker from Missouri?
All right. They wrote a poem for you from some of the details of your thing. So they're going to share that first before their question. Nice and loud. Go.
Oh,
Can you
fantastic.
see?
This is our acrostic poem that we made. It was written by Winston Miller, off the screen. Read by me and sang by Asher. Okay, so Horizon. HMS. Horizon, Moonbow, Sunset, Audacious. Fish 3000. Audacious. Oars amazing. Rain, December 11th. Always. Captain's log. Incredible. Onward. Unstoppable. Salty.
Fish 3000, treat me.
Valkyries, Oardacious, Antigua, Longing, Keeping, You're Invincible, Row,
It's not time.
Intense, Escalate, and Success.
Fish 3000, treat me, keep pushing, 47.5 days, keep going, the 5th treat day, fish 3000, dream on.
All right, what's your question, Deb?
And then my question, I have two questions.
Just say one.
How
Before
did
you ask your question, can I just say that was fantastic?
how did you feel about like getting to the finish line, except you didn't like do it in the like how like the time frame you wanted to?
I think that although it wasn't in the time frame that we initially set out for before leaving, it became apparent quite early on that a big factor of that was going to be the weather, which we all knew was something that just could not be controlled. So once you could understand or accept that the weather couldn't be controlled, and we would get there when we got there, and also the fact that we knew that we weren't the only boat struggling. That was, in the nicest way possible, really good to know it wasn't just us, and the whole fleet were slowing down because of the conditions. We were literally all in the same boat with the rest of the fleet, and we would just get there when we got there, and just it was really important to just enjoy the moment, be present in what we were doing, because it was such a once in a lifetime thing, and that's super key with enjoying and getting through such a a physically and mentally challenging experience.
All right, thank you, Abby. Yeah, do we want to take one more question from City Garden?
Carolyn, go ahead. What did you do in the first? Anybody else have a question? Go, Asher.
How does it feel? How does it feel finishing the race?
You guys have answered something else that they haven't already answered. Yeah.
What was the first thing you did after you finished the race?
Good.
Hugged our families. Gave them really big squeezes.
Sorry about that. I think we got temporarily muted. The question was, what's the first thing you did when you got to dry land?
So the thing that we were most looking forward to, apart from seeing our family and friends, was we were thinking about food all the time. Because, of course, when you're away and you're eating the same food over and over again, it's just rubbish. It's honestly, we were eating like such plasticky food out of bags. We didn't enjoy it, but we knew that we had been promised a burger and fries when we arrived on dry land. So we hugged our family and friends, and then we went to eat a burger and fries, which was actually a bit weird because everybody had to sit and watch us while we ate this massive plate of food. But it was amazing. And it kept us going for a bit of the race as well. So yeah, the first thing we did on land, great question, was eat a burger and fries. Thank you so much for your question, Asha.
All right, City Garden, thank you for those great questions. As I move you backstage and bring our Green Street back on, maybe I can follow up with that question and say, how good did it feel to sleep in a stationary bed when you got to Antigua?
I think oddly, the bed didn't really feel stationary. So everything that when we stepped out onto the dock, the reason we looked like we were a little bit drunk is because the dock felt like it was moving. So the land felt like it was moving and the sea felt like it was stable. And then when you went to bed, that was the same, especially on the first night for me at least. It was the same feeling. I kind of lay down and really felt like I was still rocking around all over the place, which is such an odd feeling because you know it's not moving.
Very interesting. All right, let's turn things back over to our friends at Green Street. If you wouldn't mind unmuting yourselves, when you're ready, go ahead.
Hi. I just had a question about like how big I knew there were like barnacles on the bottom of your boat, and sometimes they can get really big, so I wanted to know how big the barnacles were.
So that's a really good question. And actually, before we set off, we didn't really know ourselves how big the barnacles would be, because the barnacles that we get in the UK are very different, turns out. But it changed throughout. So at the start, they were quite small. And as we got further towards Antigua, they definitely got a lot bigger. But I would say the maximum was probably 3 inches long, but they were dotted all over the boat. And then when I scraped them off, because there's no polish where the barnacles had been, they came back really quickly. So it was an interesting one, because every time I got on the water, it was the different size barnacles and a lot more each time. But the feeling of scraping them off and then increasing our speed was so satisfying. And we absolutely loved the feeling when the boat was nice and clean and you felt such a difference. So yeah, about 3 inches, but really, really good question, and something we didn't actually consider until we started. So yeah, love that, and great consideration.
Yeah, as our next question asker comes up, I think I can speak for everyone when I say it was mesmerizing watching the video of you like in the ocean scraping off the barnacles. It must have been really exciting to be in the open ocean doing that job. What a unique job.
Did you see any boats whenever you were like in the middle of the race?
So on the map, when we were tracking it, it looked like people were close together. But Jordan's wondering if you could actually see the other boats while you were rowing, or if you felt like you were all by yourself.
So we definitely felt like we were by ourselves for the majority of the race. It's very deceiving. We probably looked very close, but actually in reality, the ocean is so big, right? There were miles and miles between us. Having said that, we did come super close. We could see it on our like navigation screen that we were very close to another rowing boat. Or two rowing boats, Cheerfulness and Liberty, which was Team Rolex. But sadly, we couldn't see them visually. We could only see them on our navigation systems. But that was still really cool. We did see one big like merchant vessel. So one big commercial ship the whole time we were there. And we thought we would see loads. And one of the things that we were concerned about before we left was maybe collision. And, you know, we're such a small boat in a big ocean. These big ocean going vessels don't always see us. They're not always looking for a teeny tiny, you know, plasticky ocean boat, which doesn't show up very well on their systems. So we were surprised when we only saw literally one other boat very close. But yeah, we felt very alone, very, very alone. But yeah, awesome question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shall we do one more from Green Street and then go back to City Garden?
Are you sure? No, come. Yours was good. Yours was good. Come here.
Hi, my name is Asa. I was wondering how you figured out how you got like enough food before you left.
Hi, Asa. Really good question. Food is such a big topic for us, and it's certainly morale as well to make sure you've got the right stuff. So the rules before we leave as a team of 4 is that we have to take minimum 55 days worth of food. Based on previous races and previous stats, we have to have at least 55 days worth of food, around 5,000 to 6,000 calories each. Which is a really large amount of food. Our rehydrated, like the hot meals, they only take up about half of that. So we then have to go out and make up what we call our snack packs, which again is huge morale boosting, gives us great positive vibes when we're on the boat, because it's things that we've personally packed that we know that we're going to enjoy So it would range from all sorts of snacks, so crisps, chocolate, biscuits, just a mix of sweet and savory. So anything that you know that you love, then they're the things. So for me personally, the best thing in my snack packs was the hula hoops crisps, which I didn't realize how much I was obsessed with and how much I loved until every part of the day when I would get to open that packet of crisps. And it'd make me so happy to wait for the next day. And lollies as well, they were brilliant at night to just, something really sweet and really tasty. And we had to make up all those packs ourselves. So we had 220 snack packs to pack onto the boat. So many snacks. And even still, I think we would have gone even bigger if we did it again. You'd get even bigger size. Like we were buying bite-sized snacks. Why buy bite-sized when you're rowing the Atlantic? Like if you're gonna go for it, go for like the biggest possible size chocolate bar. But yeah, that's for the next row. Yeah, loads of sweets, loads of snacks. Really good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you for the great question. Green Street will move you backstage and we'll switch back over to City Garden. Hey, any more questions? I see some waving hands. Anyone who's ready, come on up.
I'm Sage, and my question is, what was like the funniest moment that happened when you were on the boat?
I think the funny. Oh, sorry, Izzy speaking. Sorry, my signal keeps going. But I think the funniest moment was where you must have seen some of the footage of the flying fish, and it was dark, and I was on watch with Izzy, and a flying fish. It was the first one we'd seen. Comes out and hits her on the back and lands in the boat. And Izzy didn't know what happened, and she thought I'd thrown something at her. And we heard this flapping around on the deck, and we put our head torches on, and we saw the biggest flying fish trying to get back in the water, and we quickly scooped it up and saved it. And then I looked on Izzy's back, and she had a big wet fish splatter on her back. So that was hilarious, and that made us laugh for a while. So the flying fish kept us very entertained throughout the row, and that was just the start of it. So yeah, definitely the funny little characters that came for a little free ride.
I think not just that as well. One of the funniest moments, again, to do with flying fish, is finding out how everybody in the team reacts to flying fish. Some people in the team are definitely more comfortable with handling flying fish overboard. Some people in the team have very interesting scared noises when they're having to deal with a flying fish. Some people have scared noises that are so high pitched only dogs can hear them. And that was exceedingly funny.
Excellent. Great question.
Hi, I was wondering what your favorite Treat Tuesday was.
I think for me it was the tinned fruit. Just couldn't believe how much joy could come from a tin of fruit until you're in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, eating slices of pineapple, savoring every single mouthful. Or actually, sorry, not just the pineapple, but the lychee. Am I saying that right? I still can't remember how to say it. But yeah, a new love for a new fruit. Big fan, huge fan.
Great. Any other favorite Treat Tuesdays from amongst the team?
So my favorite was the day that Ali gave us air fresheners for our cabin, because when you haven't washed for a really long time, everything starts to smell really bad. When you are very hot, very sweaty, very salty, it's not nice. So when Ali brought us some little discs that we could put in our cabins that smelled really, really nice, that made me so happy. So I think that was my favorite. Izzy, how about you?
I was going to second you with the air fresheners, but actually one of my favourite, wasn't really a Treat Tuesday, but I'll show you here. On my wrist, that there's 3 different bands on there. There we go. In the middle, there's a nice green one. And for Christmas, Ali got us all a little green bracelet with a V on it for Valkyries, and that was one of my favourite. It wasn't a Treat Tuesday, but it was a Christmas present, so I'm going to count it anyway. That was my favourite.
All right, excellent. Let's do one more question from City Garden while we have you.
Asher, go ahead.
What was your most favorite part of the trip?
I think so. We've spoken about this a lot, and it's a great question because it's hard to sort of decide amongst all of the different elements, but coming together as a team and figuring out that when all odds are against you and you think that you're not going to make it through another watch, and somehow you do, and then the sun comes up and it's a new day, and all the fears that you had through the night or through the day sort of end, and you get through it. The feeling of that, and knowing that actually we can achieve this row, that was an incredible feeling. And I think that's why when we finished and you saw the pictures of us at the end, it was relief and just pride in ourselves and each other for overcoming all those obstacles, whether that was sore bodies, injuries, issues with our equipment, the weather, everything like that. And to know that we could get through that as a team makes you feel on top of the world. So I think for me personally, the best part was overcoming all those obstacles and understanding that, the dark days make the light days lighter, and just feeling utter pride as well to get through it and getting over those obstacles. So that was definitely the best part for me, amongst all of the fun that we had, with various laughs and things along the way. The feeling of just getting through it and achieving what we aim to do was definitely a highlight for me.
All right, great question, City Garden. I'm going to remove you from the screen and go back to Green Street in just a second, but I want to add one question at the sort of heart of our storytelling together for the course of this journey. You all set out on this very difficult task to show that people who come together and support each other during really difficult things can accomplish incredible tasks. This is certainly a great example of that. Is there anything that you came across during your voyage that was unexpectedly hard? I know that you trained a lot and you were prepared for almost anything that could come your way, but did anything happen over the course of the journey that really tested you?
Yes, lots of things tested us. I think nearly every single day, something unexpected or difficult or something that we just didn't know would happened. So whether that was the wind completely dropping off and us, having a very heavy boat and having to row it with no assistance from the wind, right through to the wind blowing, 30, 40 miles per hour and us not being able to row through it. They call it the world's toughest row for a very good reason, we found out. Not just a marketing gimmick. It was difficult. It was really difficult. But like Ali says, we always work together and we always found a way through it. And sometimes if there is no way through it, you just sit, you kind of recollect amongst yourselves and you almost wait it out as a team, supporting each other. And then you go again. You find the strength to go again. So I would say that we had to keep on trying. If something didn't work, we had to try again and try again and try again. And sometimes when it was just too much, you can just take a second, have a breather and be like, okay, let's try something else. Let's figure it out. Let's go. So yeah, definitely loads of challenges. It was great.
All right. Thanks, Nick. I'll bring back in our Green Street friends who I know have more questions. So let's get to them. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Penn, and I like a question about the weather. Like, were there like hurricanes? So, like, did you see any like whirlpools or stuff like that?
We didn't see any whirlpools per se, but we had something that we kept calling squalls, which is where we had really, really, really big clouds that were over the top of us. And while the clouds were over us, the wind, which say was going from west to east, or in an east to west direction, sorry, would then suddenly be going south. And it would be completely different, but only for the period of time that the big cloud was over us. And sometimes those clouds were quite small and you'd just get thrown around a bit in the wrong direction for about 5 minutes, and sometimes they lasted for a couple of hours. And they could really bring completely different winds, a bit like you say, maybe a little bit swirly sometimes, and very changeable. So you would watch the flags that were on the back of the boat really change, but we didn't see anything that was particularly circular. We didn't get caught up in any eye of the storms or anything like that, which was quite good for us. We were always mostly on the edge of all the big weather systems, which was a relief, I think.
Thank you.
Excellent. Great question.
Can we ask one more?
Yes, please.
Hey, Ruby, come here.
Hello. Hello, my name is Ruby, and I was gonna ask if when you were on the boat, were you like chatting a lot or was it really quiet?
So there was a lot of talking. The conversations we would have would go so random, and it's now looking back, it's funny to think how we would get on some interesting topics, but also we would go really deep on some things as well, and talk about things that maybe we haven't spoken about for a while or we haven't thought about, which would be quite nice to maybe look back on something that it's been put in the back of your mind because life is so busy and life is so hectic. It was actually really nice to be in an environment where you could think back to some really wonderful memories and share that with your teammates and talk about some really good times in our lives. We would also have very quiet shifts where there was sort of a mutual understanding that I'm tired, you're tired. Either let's talk to kind of help the other person get through the shift, or let's both just enjoy the quiet, because that's what the vibe was. So it was really kind of key to try and not guess the vibe, but pick up on what the vibe would be for that shift, and that would vary throughout the day and throughout the night. Maybe the night ones you needed that bit more vocal to kind of make sure that you stay awake, because that would be really hard. But yeah, we talked about a lot, we covered a lot, and then Ali came up with a fantastic quiz where she was paying attention a lot to what everyone was saying. And we had sort of a Mr. and Mrs. style quiz where Ali would ask, okay, this is where did Iz go to sixth form? And it was like, right, I think we spoke about this day 10. And just trying to remember these conversations from week 1, week 2, week 3. And that was, so my memory is as bad as it was before I left. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I came last. But it was a really fun quiz, and yeah, it was really good fun, and yeah. So we spoke a lot, definitely. But thank you for the question, Ruby.
Thank you.
Thanks for the great question, Ruby. Anybody else at Green Street have a question? I know we're getting towards the end of our time together. I want to make sure you get a chance to ask your questions.
I think you answered all of them.
Wonderful. I will move you then backstage, and let's bring City Garden back. Hello, City Garden. We have maybe one last round of question asking. Is there anybody there who wants to take this opportunity to ask the Valkyries their burning questions?
Go ahead, Lincoln.
Did being on the boat have a big impact on your mental health?
The question was, if you didn't hear it, did being on the boat have a big impact on your mental health?
Being on the boat with your really close friends was good for our mental health. Like Aaby says, the opportunity to talk was very helpful. I think the advice to improve your mental health is talking and thinking about it and all of those things. And we had so much time to do that. So I think it was good for us. Of course, it's very testing because you aren't getting any sleep at all. And maybe when you're in a bad mood and your mum says, oh, just, have some sleep, things will look better tomorrow. It's so very true. Our days, I suppose, if you want to call them that, are 2 hours. So we are awake for 2 hours and then we sleep for 2 hours. Awake for 2 hours, sleep for 2 hours. So our days are quite short. And sometimes if you maybe were in a bad mood or you're very tired or you're grumpy about something, you know that you could go to sleep for 2 hours and wake up and you feel so much better. I think the other thing that I would add is that it's really good to test yourself and to put yourself out of your comfort zone and to try new things, right? Maybe it's trying a new food or trying a new activity or, having a go at something you've maybe never tried before. And I think that eventually in time grows your kind of mental capacity. So all in all, while it was difficult, I would say it was really good for us. But that's a super mature question. I love it. Great work.
Excellent. Great question, City Garden. What other questions do we have? We probably have time for maybe 2 or 3 more.
All right, go Sage.
I was wondering if you were going to do the world's toughest row again, and you were going to do this again.
The question is, and this may be too soon, are you going to do the world's toughest row again?
That is a great question. And there are so many different answers to it. I think that having another opportunity to do something like this again would be amazing. And I know that Aaby answered the question when we got officially interviewed and said, never say never. But as privileged as we have been to do the row, there's a lot of work that goes on leading up to it and behind the scenes. And I think that we'd all have to find ourselves in a specific situation where we could put the effort into it, because you can't do it. You can't just put half the effort in. You've got to throw yourself into it 100%, so that we can talk to people like you guys, and we can do interviews like this. So I think that maybe if work was a little bit different for all of us over the next coming years, the answer might be slightly different, but potentially for right now, not really looking at doing a second crossing. Quite happy with what we've achieved so far.
Okay. Excellent. Next.
Do you have how much holiday do you have before you have to go back to work?
I'm back at work on Monday.
Wow.
I haven't spoke to work yet. I'm avoiding that question. So we'll see. I'll maybe mention them in a couple of days. Say we're still doing admin.
Okay, so a little bit of a mix of that answer to that question. As soon as Monday, back to work, or maybe a little bit longer if it can be managed. Any final question? The grand finale from the City Garden, Montessori.
Go Mabel.
What was your reaction when you saw the moonbow?
Reaction to the moonbow. We were all really curious about a moonbow. We hadn't heard about that before.
So I've never seen one before, and it really freaked me out to start with. I genuinely thought I didn't know what it was, and I thought it was a really large ship coming towards us at a really, really, really great speed. And I started to freak out, and Ali was sat behind me, and I was like, Ali, I'm not wearing my glasses. I need you to check to see what this is. I don't know what it is. It's coming at us really quickly. It's getting so big so quickly. Like, I need you to help me here. What's going on? It's coming for us. And then she was like, no, that's the moon. Wait, that's a moonbow. What you've seen there is a moonbow, and I'd never seen one before. And it turns out they go really orange, because obviously normally the moon is white light, isn't it? And you can, when there's a big moon, you can have shadows from all the moonlight. But I'd never ever seen either a moonrise or a moonbow, and they're so orange. It's so cool. But yeah, to answer your question, I freaked out. I probably freaked out at it.
What a great question to end on. And I am going to bring our Green Street friends back onto the screen. And one of the things I really want to do with us all together is just take a moment and celebrate this amazing accomplishment on behalf of the Valkyries who finished their race. Can we just give them like a big cheer for finishing this race? How awesome is this? Woo! We are so grateful for you letting us follow your journey and for sharing what you've been doing with us. I know I've learned a lot and the students have too. And on behalf of, the whole HMS Oardacious, or to the whole HMS Oardacious team, including Alex, the team manager, your awesome social media people who shared cool videos with us, all the people who helped make this possible. Just a huge thank you from Reach the World.
Well, thank you very much, Tim. In return, can I say that we received a fantastic file of pictures and jokes and riddles and drawings and poems from all of you lovely, lovely students. And they were fantastic. They were absolutely brilliant to read and to see. And they made us feel really loved as well, especially because we got them in the middle of the ocean and maybe we were feeling a bit down. And some of them were so funny. Some of the drawings were so good. It really was fantastic. So from all of us, thank you very much for those.
Excellent. Did you solve the riddles? I'm sure interested parties would like to know.
We did solve some of the riddles. My genuine favourite riddle was very, very tricky, and it was a good job that the answer was written upside down on the other end of the paper. And we spent days trying to figure out your riddles.
Excellent. So glad to hear it. All right, students, that is it for today. We have to let the Valkyries go back to resting and reconnecting with their families. I just want to say thank you to everyone involved. Again, the Valkyries have really inspired us to look after our own mental health, take care of ourselves, try difficult things, and persevere when the going gets tough. You Valkyries are definitely our heroes. That's it for this wonderful virtual exchange. I hope you'll join us for another Reach the World Explorer program soon. And with that, goodbye from Antigua, goodbye from Missouri, goodbye from Pennsylvania and Illinois, and until next time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.